everyone, and welcome to How Did You Show? Today we are recording an episode with fantastic Jamie York, one and only Jamie York, really well known within the property industry in the UK. And for those who don't know Jamie York, Jamie, hi, over to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about you and who you are?
Oh God, what a question. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you, Lenka, for having me on the show. I really enjoyed the episodes I've been listening to, so it's good to get on here and be able to share some conversation with you. Who is Jamie York? That's such a big question, isn't it? Well, I'm in property. I've got a few different businesses now that I've built up over the better part of a decade. And initially and primarily in property. And then as it's developed out from property, then education sector, investment sectors. And then now I reinvest in other people's businesses, mentor them at the same time and help scale up their businesses. So yeah, 28 now, started when I was 19, 20. So 8-9 years into it.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah, I've been watching your journey. So I know you now for over a year and a half, I guess, something like that. And I've been obviously watching your journey, and you're very inspiring. I'd say very, very inspiring. You're in your late 20s, and you, as I said on my post before about you as well, now that any business you take over, you just turn into success. So I think you're going to be absolutely fantastic guest on my show, and I bet that many people will learn a lot from you. So thank you very much for coming today. So you are very, very inspiring. As we said, you're running multiple businesses, and now you also started your new training company. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, as you know, I've been involved in education for a while, probably about 2.5, 3 years, where I just always think like, well, through different levels, obviously, if I've started and scaled up in one certain sector, then I can train other people that want to get involved in that sector within that. So primarily that's property, and then also being involved with business acumen and marketing, because it's quite alarming how many people are getting into business and they don't even know the difference between a profit and loss statement and a balance sheet, for example, and just teaching them business acumen and scaling up. So yeah, I've been doing that for about 2.5, 3 years with a really big company over here in the UK. And then very recently, last 6 months, I've been branching out and building up my own and, approaching it in a new concept, new blended learning style that I'm bringing over here in the UK. And it's going really well. I'm really enjoying it. People are getting great results, and definitely found my passion, which is incredible.
Fantastic. Is it Aspire 84 or?
Yeah, so my company brand is called Aspire. And then on the property side, we've started the new program, which is the Elite Property Trading Academy. And then Aspire 84 is more of the movement within it. So I don't know if you've ever read 12-Week Year, brilliant book.
Yes.
And it talks about, bringing a 12 months into a 12-week period. So everything we're doing is about 12-week bursts of energy, and then having a week off to strategize, relax, prepare the next 84 days, which is 12 weeks. So 12 weeks is 84 days, and then go out and absolutely smash it. So that's where Aspire, the company brand, and then 84 came together. And then as I started saying it, a load of people from cohort number 1, so we're putting hashtag Aspire 84 everywhere, all over Facebook, Instagram. So then I got some branding done with it, and yeah, it's just sort of taken over. So now it's the new movement, if you like.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, well, you work really, really hard, so you deserve all the success and everything. So that's amazing. I'm very happy for you. That's really good.
Thank you.
So you've been in the property obviously for a while now. It's been like roughly 10 years here. So you have different experience in the property. So, but what we decided today that we're going to be talking about structuring, how to pick the right strategy, how to structure your property business, how to look at the locations, etc., things like that. And because you are very well known as a deal packaging expert, obviously real due diligence come with it. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, Jamie? So how someone starts with a property business? Where would you start? You know what I mean? There's like so many questions in one, but I know that you know what I mean.
Yeah, okay. I'll try and answer your like 300 questions there in one go. I think so. I mean, how I started was a pure mistake, which we'll maybe get to in a moment if you want to go down that line. But I think first of all, it's understanding that property investment is more than just buying, refurbing, and letting it out, buy to let, or buying, refurbishing, and selling on. And I think a lot of people getting into property think they're really the only two options. Just to pause there, Lenka, your audience, is it mainly property people? So I don't want to tell them how to suck eggs. Do they know about the different strategies, or is it mainly business people that might be interested in property?
I'd say both, because I obviously don't know on, let's say, YouTube channel or in my podcast, I don't necessarily know individual people who is listening, but they must be definitely interested either in property or in business, because the podcast is for property beginners. So
yeah. Okay, cool. Brilliant. So obviously there are a lot of strategies. So there's deal packaging, and within deal packaging is a very simple level. That's very foundational, but the more sophisticated level is being a property trader. There's HMO, serviced accommodation, commercial, industrial, commercial conversion, lease options, assisted sales, rent to rent, all of those sort of things. There's hundreds really, but there's like a core 15 to 20 strategies or tactics within property. So if you're trying to get started, first of all, you need to know the foundations of property. So you need to understand what makes a buy-to-let property, because unless you're looking at it as a getting chunks of cash in, where you might buy, refurbish, and sell a property, you're probably going to be looking at long-term wealth. And the foundations of everyone's portfolio, in my opinion, must be buy-to-let. You know, so there's all of these. There's great strategies, HMOs, rent-to-rents, service accommodation. I think they're fantastic, but I still think that buy-to-let should be a major component of everyone's portfolio as you're building wealth. So I think first of all, you need to look micro and macro. So the micro situation is you as an individual. Okay, now that really comes from the subjective and objective. The subjective side of it is, what are you good at? What do you enjoy? So I don't know if you've ever done a wealth dynamics profile. But it's a really good system. It's a psychometric testing that are only as good as your answers. You know, you have to answer them honestly, because a lot of people go, this is who I want to be seen as. So then you start answer them honestly. I think they're like 50 quid or something like that, but it really tells you a lot. And, you know, you might be a lord, you might be a star, you might be a creator, you might be a trader, you might be an accumulator. And it really tells you your personality type and where your strengths lie. You definitely want to look at that, because if you're starting a business is bloody hard. Okay, being an entrepreneur is such a ridiculous decision by most people, because, you know, and I don't want to put your watchers off or listeners off, but it's really hard work, and and you know yourself, Lenka, you know, this perception that you can come in, do a course, and then be rich in 3 months is bull. All right. I usually swear a lot, but I'll try and stop myself.
You don't have rubbish. Feel free, be you.
Oh, it's fucking bollocks then. But it is. This whole you'll quit your job in 3 months. You're financially free. It's like, no, you won't be. Okay, it's bloody years of hard work. The first 3 years of mine, I was paying myself $1,000 a month to live off, and then it turns very dramatically. And your problems just get bigger, but your solution providing ability just gets greater. That's not to turn people off, but please don't come into this being deluded.
Yeah.
So then you've got your skill set, which is the subjective side. The objective side is, what money have you got? What time have you got? Because if you've got no money, no time, and no experience, probably not worth looking at a land development for 28 properties, right? But if you've got $500,000 in your bank right now, you've got some experience or some knowledge around it, you're probably not going to be spending much time with lease options or rent to rents, okay? Unless it's mixed in with another strategy. So, you know, if you're in that situation where actually you're looking, first of all, get passive income out of your head. Oh, fuck mine. That's another thing that really pisses me off. Like, entrepreneurs, property education is a really weird space to be in. It's where you're getting a load of people that are in their job usually that want to be entrepreneurial to then get out of what they're doing. And it's really weird when you think about it like that. You're getting into something to get out of something. Just think about that logically. That's crazy. Property can be passive down the line. But if you've got property as a business and you're using property to generate income. Buying a buy-to-let is utilizing money that you've made to make more money. It's an investment, and it can be run as a business, but it is not a trading business. Doing a commercial conversion, doing a flip, trading on property, deal packaging, that is a business. Okay, that is going to generate money, but you have to be involved, and it is the amount of money you make is a direct reflection of the time, effort, and money you put into it. Done. Okay, and people need to get that. Like, if you're looking to get into property because you want to have the passive income, that's great if you're surrounded by money, whether that's in your bank or you've got a great network of money. But if you don't have that, be prepared to graft. Okay, so if you know you've got time to put into it, but you don't have a lot of money, let's say you've got the time commitment, you're going to work hard, but you don't have the money, then rent to rent is probably going to be a good one. Deal packaging is going to be a really good one. And lease options might be a good one. And then you want to look at your risk profile. So lowest risk within that is going to be deal packaging, because there's zero risk and very little money, if no money actually, once you've got your compliance. Rent to rent is going to be the next level, but obviously there's a risk because you're taking control of a property in some way. And then lease option is higher risk because you're tying yourself into a more slightly more binding contract. Conversely, if you look at I've got a load of money and I don't have any time, then maybe it's worth investing in other people's projects, and that's definitely a worthwhile venture because you're either time rich or money rich, financial risk rich, or financially risk. Often it's not the same because that takes years to achieve both, if I'm honest. But if you've got experience, you'll look at the different projects. And then externally to that, the macro is you want to look at your environment. Okay, so you want to look at your environment geographically. If I live in a tiny little village somewhere, buy-to-let's probably going to work okay because everyone needs a place to live. Flips are probably going to work because there's not a lot of supply and the demand is fairly consistent. Serviced accommodation, if it's not a well-known village that you'd go there for a reason and there's not a load of construction there, probably not going to work. Okay, so there's your geographical, but then there's also your economical outputs. Okay, so if you want to get really deep, look at PESTLE analysis, PESTLE. Okay, it's all external factors that you want to look at. And it's an economical metric. And but your economy, you want to look at how's Brexit affected that. COVID-19, obviously I'm in isolation right now, hence being at home. So from being Ibiza, I don't actually have it, just for you watching today. But like, you want to look at your local economy and how that's impacted from the macro. So I know that's a really in-depth and technical answer, maybe more than you were wanting, but I really think you need to start thinking like a business. And I see so many a bit happy clappy about it all, like, woo, I'm going to work 5 hours and become a millionaire. And there's a lot of factors that you want to think about before getting into something, because it's similar to starting a business. Do you want to be a sole trader, an LLP, or a limited company, or other structure? It's very cheap to set up, very easy to take a move to go into it. I'm going for rent to rent, I'm going for this. But actually, when you're in it, that's even worse, because if you're 6 months to a year down the line and you've been grafting, it's really expensive to change a corporate structure once you're in it. It's very expensive to disillusion from a business partner you decided on the spot to go into business with. It's very expensive to change strategies down the line. And so often, especially if you've made financial commitments to that strategy, say you quit a job because of it, you've got to go all in. And it's one of those where it's like, spend some time at the beginning. And obviously I've got a vested interest to say property trading and I'll train you how to do it. But don't do that. Do some research around the strategies. And then it's like, right, if you want property trading, get in touch with somebody like me, or there's other trainers out there that are great as well. And it's all about personality then and who you match to. So I'm sorry about the long answer. I got a bit excited and went into it. Yeah, but
that's brilliant.
I do think there's technical aspects to think about.
Of course. And I can tell you're very passionate about it. And the thing is that...
Yeah. Well, I see a lot of people making mistakes is why. And, if you could, it's that measure twice, cut once mentality. make sure you've got the right measurement, make sure what you're about to do, because it's not quite the same as sawing something off. You can fix it down the line if you've gone the wrong track, but the further down a level you go, whether it's investing heavily in your education, spending a load of time on something, quitting your job about something, the more you go deep into something, the more rewarding it is, for sure. But if it's the wrong move and here's where you want to be, and you've not realized that if you take this path, you're going there. And this is where being a strategic thinker really comes in from the beginning.
That's really good. That's really good advice. And also, like, when you said that when someone is starting out and they don't have much money, and maybe they have time perhaps, and they can it's really the easy way to get into properties is, for example, the rent to rent, as we mentioned. Yeah, rent to rent is great for, let's say, HMOs or service accommodation, but it is more than a full-time job. It is a full-time job, and they have to be ready for that. And it's not all pink and fluffy and unicorny, of course. It is a full-time job, and you have to love it. And something like service accommodation, you must love hospitality. So many people, they don't know that. They're just seeing those beautiful posts about making lots of money through Airbnb. They don't understand how much work goes into it, or that it is actually it's a full-time job, and you must love hospitality, for example. So there's so much more into it. And as you said, that it's really important to get yourself educated, but it's also important to know what you want to be educated on, because you do need education. Like, I call myself a forever student. Forever and ever, I will be paying for education. I will be getting mentors, etc., etc. But it is important to know what you actually want to look into. You want to study.
You're spot on. And I'm very similar in the fact that I train people, but I'm still a student. I've invested well in excess of 100 grand, well in excess, and I intend to invest millions by the time I die. And I'm so proud of that, because I think thinking you know what you know and that's enough is fucking ignorant. And you think education's costly, try ignorance.
Right.
That's going to cost a lot more. But yeah, you are right. And rent to rent is a great strategy in terms of if you don't have a lot of money, but still, it's not no money. People say no money down. It's not no money down. Even if you go into a decent house, you've still got the furnishings, I'll say silverware, the cutlery, or the pots, the pans and stuff like that. You're still going to spend a few grand. Then you've got a few months of trying to fill the rooms, because they don't just go like that. So you still need 5,000 or 6,000, I think, to take on a decent rent-to-rent opportunity. And then you're going to be netting, let's say all things go well, £400 or £500 in reality. So it's then going to pay you back in about a year. That's great. Think about that as a percentage return. It might be a 70% return on investment. Wow. Brilliant. Crazy. Especially if you've got a 5-year contract that's solid, right? Which is why I don't like these people that take rent-to-rents on for a year. I think it's good for experience, but it's not a financial decision.
Especially if you as you said, for decoration, for furnishing, etc., etc. It costs money.
It does.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It's not cheap. Even just putting duvets and stuff on it racks up. And and you, by taking on rent to rent, you become a property manager.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what it is. And then the only time that becomes any form of passive is when you've got enough rent to rent where you can hire a part-time property manager to replace you and get yourself out of that role. Service accommodation is a wonderful strategy. I absolutely love it. But people get it wrong because they're putting them in flats and not getting permission from the freeholder, and all of that sort of thing. And you see it all the time. And then everyone loves service accommodation until somebody trashes it, or there's one too many prostitutes in there that gets reported, and all of that sort of thing.
Or
then the same thing.
Stealing IDs.
Yeah, exactly. But then you've got to think, service accommodation's great at the start if you're willing to put it active. Then you've got to hire somebody. And then the problem is you then go past the VAT threshold. You don't get to charge VAT to the end user. Yes, you've got TOMs and stuff like that. But the whole thing with all of it is until you've got a manager in place, it's a job.
Of course.
And it's a very reactive job as well, because if somebody calls you because of this or that goes wrong or this, you've then got to react to it. Deal packaging and property trading, still another job. The only reason I have a slight preference to it is there's no ongoing obligation. I get my £5 grand today, done. And that's what I really like. But don't get into property thinking of passive income. Passive income is an outcome of being involved in anything for a number. Same as owning a business, by the way. Owning a business is a job. I graft. I work 80, 90, 100-hour weeks, not in one business, in all of my businesses, but I love it. I'm passionate about it. And there's maybe one or two of my businesses that I'm not heavily involved in the day-to-day running of it now. So now those businesses are passive income after working my nuts off for a number of years. Yeah. And, you know, that's why we're talking strategically. And what are you going to enjoy? Because any strategy you'll make money in, by the way, if it's good for your area, you've done your research, I'm not slating one strategy. Every strategy out there is incredible. Yeah. If you love what you do, but you're going to have really shit days, right? I've crap days all the time. You know, that's part of business. But I love it. And I love the hustle. I love negotiations. That's what I'm passionate about. And so as long as you pick something you genuinely have passion around, the money's inevitable. Money's not going to buy you happiness, you know, so find something that you genuinely enjoy and do something with it.
Fantastic. Absolutely. So how did you get into property, Jamie? Can you tell us how, because obviously you are very passionate about it. And so I even seen you speaking a few times. You were actually one of my teachers when I was doing my dual packaging course. I know how great you are. So how did you get into property for those who don't know you? Because I do know. Can you tell us more?
Yeah. Well,
so
it started back in university. Say that again, sorry.
No, I just meant, how did you choose your strategy and, you know, all these things you were just talking about? How did you get into yourself?
Yeah. So I it was kind of by accident, but I grew up very blue collar background. You know, family of builders, interior design, painter, decorator, you know, that sort of thing. So very hands-on and surrounded by that. But then when I went to university, I started thinking about it very differently. And I was one of those kids that watched one too many episodes of Homes Under the Hammer, right? And I used to watch it and think, these absolute idiots, they ignored all of the advice that they got given at the start. Don't do this, don't do that. And they ignore it all. And they still seem to make 20 grand every single time. And obviously now understanding it was an upward market and everything like that. But I thought, well, if these idiots can do it, why can't I do it, right? And
how old you were? 18, 19?
About 18, 18 or 19 at that point. And then, so I used to trade quite a lot. And I used to trade stocks, derivatives, bit of gold, coffee. And it was just to pay for my rent in London because like family couldn't help out financially. So it was just to pay for my room. And I started getting good at it. We got rid of it. We got a chunk of money. We're talking close to about $250,000, myself and Dan, my business partner. We weren't business partners. We were just friends having fun at that point. And I basically we spent pretty much all of it in a year. Like, had a really good year and terrible year at the same time, obviously. But one of my lecturers just said, well, look, you need to sort yourself out because you're either going to be somebody that's brilliant, inspiration, all of that, or you're going to end up in prison. And I was just like, well, that's a bit of a telling. So I thought, right, got into it. Fast forward a couple of months, started looking into mortgages. No way I was getting a mortgage. I still had about 20 grand left over at that point. So I started looking at property prices in the UK. And one of the areas was Burnley in Lancashire, Northwest. And I thought, yeah, I'll buy property there. So I found a property that was £21,800, 36 Burdett Street. Yeah, I remember. Nice. And people always ask, have you still got the property? No, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm not that nostalgic, unfortunately. But I grafted on that. So as I said, I brought up using my hands. So I'd run out of money. And then my friend's dad bought me a van. And oh man, it was interesting. I used to drive up, it's about 240 miles, give or take. And somebody had tried breaking into the van. So every time I went over like 40 miles an hour, it was like 200 miles. And I'm just like headphones on because the radio didn't work.
Annoying.
All that, yeah. So I went back and forth for about 9 or 10 months. fixing up the property, YouTubing how to do the wiring, you know, all of that sort of thing.
Amazing.
And basically, it went terribly wrong. So it got to the point where somebody was going to put in the kitchen, because I couldn't do that, and they were going to plaster. I can't plaster. I'm useless. And next door neighbour went.
You became one of those idiots from under the hammer.
Yeah. Idiot with a hammer. Yeah. So I just went. Okay, next door neighbour. Say that again.
No, I'm just joking now, because you said that they were always making lots of mistakes but still made money. So you said that you made so many mistakes. I was like, yeah, you just became one of them.
Oh yeah, I was an idiot from the start, right? I mean, they say that buy the worst house in the best street, and don't buy it a million miles away. And I bought the worst house in the worst street in the worst area, 200 miles back. So yeah, I'm the bloody idiot. And then the next door neighbour came over, a guy called Steve, and you'd probably look at him now and go, yeah, why did you trust him? And he went, yeah, I'll put the kitchen in for you. I'll do that. And he seemed to know what he was doing. He had plastering gear. I went, yeah. We agreed a price. I paid him up front. Never do that, by the way.
Up front.
Never do that.
19-year-old Jamie.
I know. Well, you live and learn, right? So paid him for it. And I went, yeah, here's my number. Just give me a call when you're done with it. I went, yeah. 3 weeks went past, 4 weeks went past. I'm like, it should probably be done by now. So I gave him a call. He didn't pick up. Waited another couple of weeks of me calling. I thought, this is weird. So I went up, opened the door, and you know when you can just sense something's wrong. So I get hit and I'm like, oh, and it's dusty. It's a bit just, and I walk in and the radiators have gone off of the wall. The pipe work down, the wiring, because obviously I chased out all of the wall and put the wires in. All of the wiring was gone. The kitchen wasn't there. And then as I walked into the kitchen, the floor was all dug up. And I was like, who the hell's done that? Like, I don't know why. I remember finding it funny, but like, it wasn't funny. Obviously, it was horrible, but like, it was all dug up. And I thought, bloody hell. And then I asked around, and they were like, yeah, there's lead in the floor that's worth a lot of money, like, because it's proper in that area. And I remember thinking, fair play. Like, if you've come in and dug up the floor, good on you. Like, I mean, how bad does your life have to be where you're doing that? And I thought,
oh my God,
check this out. So I go next door to Steve's. I bang on the door and I see somebody moving in the window. I'm going, Steve, open the door, you know, banging on the door. What the fuck's happening? His door's on there. And I look through the window like that, and I can see at the back that my kitchen is installed in his kitchen. I was like, you cheeky bastard. So, yeah. So that's how I got started. But whilst I was doing that, I still rang agents and negotiated deals. And then I negotiated another one for about 18.
What happened to Steve?
Huh?
What happened to Steve?
Do you know what? I just let it go. Like, it's weird. I still look back and think it's weird, because it's not usually my behaviour. If somebody did that, I'd do something about it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I would. But for some reason, I was just so perplexed by it. So sort of like, what the hell has happened there? I just thought, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. Just move on from it, you know.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'd still been calling up agents and trying to negotiate deals. And I negotiated this deal, which was like 18 grand. I thought, so I was bitching to my mate about it. And his dad he said his dad buys them. I said, well, here's the number. His dad ended up buying it. And then about a month, something like that later, he ended up giving me a bit of money. I thought, that's pretty cool. And I went, what's this for? Like, you know, giving me cash in an envelope and all that. And he just said, look, find me more properties on this, and we'll make more money. And I thought, fucking hell, that's amazing. And I thought I was a pioneer. I thought this was going to be completely new. And then it turns out it's called deal packaging or property trading, stuff like that. So, yeah. And then I sort of went down that track, started investing in myself and my education, started pushing myself. And then that's where self-education really came in. So started reading a lot, listening to podcasts, investing in training courses. And then as I started implementing it, I realized that a lot of people were doing deal packaging to start. And that was my mentality as well. It was like, I'll do deal packaging for a bit, get enough money for deposits, and then I'll really get into property. But then I realized that actually there's a real niche here and an opportunity to do this. So we just reinvested, got bigger to where we are today. And now there's 14 of us, 15 of us now in the office, all doing property trades. And yeah, we're pushing. We want to be the biggest in the UK. We're not there yet. But yeah, that's where we're going. And so we started.
Do you want to tell the listeners what's the name of your company for the deal packaging?
Yeah, sure. So there's two sides from an investor point of view. There's we sell BMV. So if you already know what you're doing, you know how to refurb a property, and you want to take care of the property that side, but you want below market value, then you can find it on the we sell bmv.co.uk. Mm-hmm. If you're interested in hands-free property investment where we can take care of everything, find it, refurbish it, let it out, anything like that, it's called Aspire Property Group. And the best thing to do is just hit me up on Facebook or Instagram, which is Jamie York on Facebook and Jamie York Wealth on Instagram.
Perfect.
And then you can get in touch with that.
I will pop that all on the video or in the podcast as well for those who want to contact you. Fantastic. Right,
no worries.
You had a hell of an experience as your first property, and that still didn't put you off.
Yeah.
That just shows, with this story, what we can learn as well is that if you have a bad experience, when it's even if it's your first experience, that doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be forever. It's all about, your willingness, your knowledge, and it's a lot about mindset, isn't it? About your mindset there, and then your education. And start building the right network around you and all that. So it doesn't need to be just scary when you have a one bad experience, even if it's first. And
yeah, well, it's kind of like when you look. Sorry, Lanka, go on.
I think we have a little slight delays, so I think we sometimes are trying to talk more of us. Yeah, no, you go ahead.
We do. Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, think about any long-term venture that you've ever seen. Think about the most successful marriages that you've seen, those couples that have been together 50 years. I've not spoken to one of them and gone, I bet it was perfect all the way through. They're just like, what? I'm just trying to work out if I love him or hate him. Mm-hmm. And that's after 50 years. And that's what business is. You cannot get into this blindsided to think everything's going to go your way and everything's going to be a win. There's always stuff that's going to hit you, and the worst stuff's the bit that you didn't expect. So you're always going to, if you're building a business, there's going to be people you upset, and you expect that and you're prepared for it, but you never expect the person over here that you thought was happy, and then suddenly they shout that they're upset, and it's like, kind of hits you. It's the same with investments. It's returns, and you need to understand this. Yield and returns is direct proportion of risk. Okay, just in basic economics, so if you want risk-free money, put it in a bank, or maybe not since layman's, but it's pretty much as safe as it gets. Or put it under your mattress and get no return and hope nobody nicks it. But it's a bank or treasury or bills, that sort of thing. If you're going to invest in property and you want to achieve double-digit returns, sometimes really solid, and capital growth over the long time, there's risk involved in that. There's going to be a burst pipe. There's going to be the boiler that stops working. There's going to be the tenant that smashes holes in the doors. That's part of the parcel. And if you're not worried, if you're terrified of mistakes going on, losing some money along the path, which I've done as well, by the way, or your reputation taking a hit from time to time, because as soon as you start putting yourself out there, and Lenka, I don't know if you're in this situation already, but sorry to say it will happen. The more you're putting yourself out there and your podcast grows, the more people are going to go, she's this, she's that, because it happens. Okay. And if you're scared of any of that, don't do anything. Don't put yourself out there on social media. Don't try and help people. Don't try and make money. For every person you're trying to help with their property, sell their property quickly, there's somebody to jump in and call you a shark.
Yeah.
For every person you want to educate out there. It's weird. I've only just started running ads for my education, and the amount of people that are like, "Oh, you're vile, you're vermin," and it's like, what? I only put an ad out to help people, and I wasn't even charging. It was for something free, and it's like,
Oh,
what?
those
Uh,
small, mindy little trolls.
yeah, and it's just like, but what I've quickly realised is nothing to do with me. I mean, I don't even know these people. I think that's the crazy thing. If it was somebody that I'd done something to and you upset, you're like, yeah, they were a bit of a prick, but I
Yeah.
kind of fucked them over. You know, I can understand why they're like that. Whereas it's just complete random people, and I'm like, who are you?
I never
And
even
it's always
seen your face.
yeah, that's the worst thing. It's always somebody with no picture on their profile, and you're like, I wonder if that's an education competitor or if it's something like that. But you know, it's
It shows more about
life goes.
you.
Sorry, yeah, absolutely, it does. And what you need to realize is, in order to win in the casino, you need to win 51% of the time. Okay, that's it. Everything over is a bonus. And in business, it's the same. You know, obviously there's risk and you don't want to go all in and expose yourself too much. But all you need to do is win one more time in a year, then you lose and you've benefited. You've pushed yourself up. Now the reality is you'll win 100 times for every 5 times you lose. But you don't get to have wins all the time. You always have problems. And by the way, those problems, the bigger the problem, the bigger the solution. And often the bigger the solution that you're matching to something, the more money you make. So, you know, if you're worried about any of those, don't do it. And I feel like I'm turning people off, but it's worth saying on the other side, the rewards.
It's the goods and the uglies, you know, like it's not all about the goods and goods. It's so important to put these uglies out there as well, to actually show the truth, show the reality. So no, you're not, you know, and if you're putting someone off, you're actually doing them a favor. So those people should be like, you know what, Jamie, thank you. Because I don't want
That is true. And all I'd say to counter it is the rewards are huge as well. So, I mean, obviously money, you know, making a shit ton of money, that's awesome. You know, but in education, for example, like it's just logical. Say now I've educated over, it's close to 2,000 people now, which is pretty cool. But I know that there's going to be a handful of people that got educated by me and hated it, because that's going to happen. Don't know why. I'm fucking awesome. No, I'm joking. But like, yeah, well, obviously, but it's like, I was gonna say Lenka's one of them that hates me from them. But it's like, but I can't expect to not have that, right? And if I build something and I build it quickly, I can't expect there not to be infrastructure problems, or I suddenly need staff, and I can't hire staff and then not be worried about the money to pay them. You know, it's a yin and yang world, but I promise you that actually, if you can get over those problems, and adversity that you're hit with, and you can overcome it in the right way, the rewards are more than you could ever imagine.
Nice. That's beautiful. Great advice, Jamie, as always. For those who don't follow you yet, which I can't say there will be that many because you're very well known in the industry, but for those who don't know, you definitely should jump on your social and start following you. You always share lots of great content. You've got a great mindset. You always love helping people. So that's brilliant. So thank you so much for all this. And Jamie, we are going to be slowly running out of time. So I have to ask you the question, one of the questions I always ask as well. Do you, you know, when you said that when you start educating yourself and you start listening to podcasts, etc., do you have any book you would recommend to someone to read? Do you have any like special books which change your life in regards to the mindset of property?
Yeah. Okay. So no matter what business you're in, and I'm sure you get loads of property book recommendations, I'm going to recommend something different. There's 3 things that I think are the most important things for you to study in every business: sales, marketing, and psychology. Okay. Now, sales and marketing is probably an obvious one, but psychology is absolutely huge. How people think, how people are motivated, how to push them forward. And a great book. It's a bit of a heavy read. you know, so maybe it's one to listen on normal speed on Audible and read a couple of times, take some notes, is a book called Cyberkinetics.
Wow.
It's a heavy, I'm actually listening to it again right now. Let me just get it up so I can find the person that it is. So yeah, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetics.
Right.
And it's all about how, it's all about how people think. It's a heavy book, but if you take it and adapt it and apply it to your life, it will game changing, really game changing, and probably a book most people haven't heard of as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love this advice. Something new and coming from someone who runs multiple successful businesses, etc. Definitely something I'm going to jump on. I'm going to download it as soon as we go of this episode. Book. Cool, brilliant. And Jamie, do you have any movie to recommend, or any documentary, or anything to watch? Every single person always on my show advise something. Is anything, again, mindset or property, or it could be something completely else if you want, but something you would be like, that is really good, great thing to watch?
Do you know what? There's a really great one. I'm trying to think of one that you haven't been recommended before. There is one. Give me a second. Oh, there we go. So it's a documentary. I think it's on. You can get it on Amazon Prime, and it's called The Dawn Wall. And
awesome.
Have you watched it?
No. I'm saying that's new, so it's awesome because I like having it.
Oh, good. Okay, so it's the Dawn Wall is the biggest and most complex wall in the world to climb. That's all I'm going to say. Actually, it's a story of determination and showing you that even in adversity, with one of the hardest obstacles in the world, if you just take it one step at a time, you'll be shocked at just how far you can go in life. Mm-hmm. Amazon Prime, The Dawn Wall, will change your life and thinking on business and success.
Fantastic. I love that recommendation. I'm looking forward to watch that as well. So the next movie night, I'm watching that. We get some popcorn.
There you go.
Amazing. Right, Jamie, and now also I have to ask you, what would be, I know you already kind of said it when you were describing your book, but your top 3 tips from Jamie York. What would be your top 3 tips for the listeners?
Okay, number 1, have a plan. You know, we spoke about strategy in this, and I think it's Warren Buffett that says an idiot with a plan will always do better than a genius without one. And it's true, you know, we're always in such a rush in today's society to get somewhere fast that you don't really know where you're going. So have a plan of action. Number 2 would be consistency and persistency will always outweigh talent. You know, I enjoy speaking with people. Everything else is just a skill that's developed over time, you know, getting my hands dirty, grafting, getting educated, all of that. But the person that takes more consistent, and that is the key, consistent action, daily action, not 10 hours today and then nothing for 3 weeks. You know, even if you did half an hour a day, educating yourself, building yourself up, it makes a really big thing. Second, the last one is a bit of a quote to leave you on, I guess, but also I think words to live by, and that's to have a head for business and a heart for the world. You know, it's good to be strategic. Yes, it's going to make you a load of money, but I promise you, one of the best transitions I ever went through is looking at how I can give back and add value. And as soon as I started giving away money and helping people a lot more for free, I started making a load more money. And I believe a big part of that is this head to heart flow and cycle of everything that comes through. That's both psychologically, mentally, but also financially. By pushing out the flow of money, it seems to have attracted it more into my life. So yeah, they're the 3 big things.
Yeah, that's everywhere. It's everywhere. When you are in this in this world, property or business, and you're listening to people who already made it to, at least to where you want to be, etc. Everybody tells you just keep adding value, add value in no matter what you do, just keep adding value. The money will follow. So yeah, it's a great advice. I love it, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jamie. And Jamie, do you want to tell us a little bit also about your, sorry, I have a dog here who is being a little bit, come on, stop it. Jamie, do you want to tell us a little bit about your the training company you started? Do you want to share some with my listeners before we go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So it's coming under my Aspire brand, Aspire. If anyone wants any information about it, just get in touch. I can have a conversation with them. We just have a 15-minute, 20-minute chat on the phone. I'm not going to try and sell you it. It's just what it is. But it's a blended learning program. So something I've seen with working with other companies, seeing the structures and how everyone does it. You pay a few grand for a course for a weekend, and then you're kind of getting a load of information at once, and then it's go out there and you realize the practical applications actually, it's not quite what you learn in the room, right? Same as reading a book is not the same as doing the same thing. So then it's, I need help, I need support. And then it's, well, you've got this mastermind for 10 grand. So, and it's great and it's a brilliant model and it helps a lot of people. But what I've decided to do is create a blended learning concept. We've just finished our cohort number 1. We're just doing cohort 2 now. So there's spaces. So the other thing is it's not a continuous intake. We're doing it 2 or 3 times a year. So this is the last one for this year, at which point the next one won't be till mid next year. And it's all about educating people on all areas of property trading, deal packaging, scaling your portfolio, everything you need to do. And it's over a 12-week program.
Fantastic. And it's called Aspire 84. Yeah, I'm going to add all the details as well.
Yeah, so it's the Elite Property Trading Academy, the actual academy that we're taking on. I can send you some links to it if you want, so people can book in a phone call or something like that. Again, no obligation, no hard sell at all. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then the movement is Aspire 84 within that.
Fantastic. So I just for those listeners, because obviously I'm seeing you and your brand online. I've been seeing since your training company started. I've been seeing few people posting in the T-shirt with Aspire 84 on the T-shirt, writing about amazing stories and their achievements and how they're they're happy with what they're achieving, etc. because of the help you're providing. So yeah, that's great to see. That's great to see. And yeah, wishing you all the success and all the luck and everything in the world. You deserve it. You really do.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and it is a bit different because it is a very close-knit community. It's almost like a family that's come together, which honestly was not the intention. It just seems to have been the outcome of it, and it's an amazing thing to be part of. And it's one of those, there's no I in team. It's because of every single person. And it's not I'm your mentor, you're the delegate. We're all together, we're planning skiing trips and stuff like that. And it's just a massive movement within it that I really want to create. So really, I'm just setting it up to get some friends, if I'm honest. But, I appreciate your compliments.
No, that's great. Right. Well, I'm sure that this business is going to grow really, really, really far and really big. So as I said, like everything you touch, you turn into gold. So I'm sure this is going to be one of those. Brilliant, Jamie. So is there anything else, because as I know that obviously the time is ticking now, so is there anything else you would like to add at the end of the episode, or do you think we covered everything?
No, what I'd probably say is, when I'm saying something like have a head for business and a heart for the world, it's not because it's a nice little quote. It's something I genuinely buy into, that like, if you go out there with a value first mindset, I promise you, if you're consistent on something and take action and learn from your mistakes and get better, the money is inevitable. So it's not just some fluffy concept that I'm putting out there. I think they're words to live by that you can incorporate and not only make a load of money, but be really happy in life. And yeah, so hopefully you got a load of value from watching this. I've had a really good time, Lenka. And for those of you that do want to get in touch or reach out or need any help, and it's not even just about the course, if you need any help in your property or business journey, feel free to hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. And obviously go over to my YouTube channel as well, which is just Jamie York. You can find me on there, and I put out content on YouTube every week, a couple of times a week, Facebook pretty much every day. And yeah, just reach out wherever. You'll find me online somewhere. and I'll be happy to help out.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on the show today. I loved having you on the show. I had a great time with you today, and yeah, I'm sure that the listeners will find a lot of value in that and lots of golden nuggets. So I'm just going to put the details somewhere, on the video or under the descriptions, etc., so for people to be able to find you. And yeah, again, thank you ever so much for coming on the show, Jamie.
More than welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been fantastic.
Take care, Jamie. Good luck with everything.
Thanks very much.
So, you're nice and smiley already? Let's do this. So, 3, 2, 1.
I can do it.
Fantastic. Woo-hoo. Yes, Jamie.